American Timelines is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network. Find out more at queencitypodcastnetwork.com.
So now I'm obsessed with time. Come on, tell me about the time. Had it all in my hand tonight. Had the time of my life. When the words all come down like blues on Tuesdays gone down. Throw it all away. Throw it all away.
All right, you ready to start?
The thing is about it is that our listeners are the most sexy listeners in the world.
Can we start?
There's no sexier listeners than American Timelines listeners. Yeah, let's start on that.
All right, welcome to another episode of American Timelines. I'm Amy, and that's Joe.
And we are History for Jerks, and you are a sexy listener.
And today we are talking about 1957.
That's right. It's episode 198. We're 2 away.
Oh my God.
From our big giant extravaganza 200th episode.
We're gonna shroom.
Where we're just gonna do.
We both decided.
I'm gonna do a bunch of coke, and Amy's gonna shroom, and we're gonna do some peyote and bath salts.
All right, let's get started.
Yeah, let's get started. Thanks for listening, and thanks for subscribing, and thanks for
Telling your friends.
being a friend and telling your friends. There's no other way to be a friend than tell a friend.
That's right.
And we can be friends. And we would like to officially be friends with all of you. So please add us on Friendster, if that's still a thing. I'm sure we're on there somewhere.
All right.
But before we get started, I have 19 ads to read.
Oh my God.
Just kidding. I don't have any ads to read right now, but I will have one
Later.
sometime in the middle of our show. How about that? I'm going to just
Yep.
sprinkle it in, and you'll be surprised where it is.
Okay.
I'm actually just... There it is. Okay, I got to make sure I have the brief. Yeah, it's in there. It'll be in there. You'll find it. And do us a favor and listen to the ad. Don't skip it, because it'll be entertaining. I'm going to make it entertaining.
He's gonna jazz it up.
I'm going to jazz it up by singing it,
Oh God.
rapping it,
Oh Lord.
beatboxing it.
Oh man. Breakdancing. Even though this is not a visual medium. All right. Start. Let's start.
Let's start. November. We're starting November. This is the last episode of 1957. We're going to
That's
do
right.
November and December, and we got a big one. This is one Amy has been waiting to do since we started the podcast. Basically, we started the podcast
For this story.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're coming up on 5 years for this story, really.
Yes.
We started for this. So this might be the culmination of American Timelines, and it might be all downhill. This is the Jumping the Shark episode. We are jumping the shark as we speak.
That's right.
November of 1957. We got a big one coming up. Before we get to that, we're going to start with something kind of at the beginning of the month, or just something I have that just happened in November. I don't know if I have a specific date. In fact, I don't even remember what this is until I start getting into it and reading what I wrote. There's a guy named William J. Simone who wrote a book. And in his book, his 2002 book, he recounts one of the hairiest F-107A flights, which was made outside a testing program, a testing of airplanes. At this time, they were testing new airplanes. This is called the North American F-107A plane that they're testing,
Yeah.
according to Smithsonian Magazine. Air Force Major Clyde Good delivered the number 2 airplane to the Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio, sometime in November 1957. Good's 107A, by then almost ready for the scrapyard, had no navigation radios. So they were just going to, there was like a testing airplane. They were just going to throw it away. But they had to take it to this museum or whatever. So he planned a day trip, and he was going to follow an F-100 Super Sabre from Edwards Air Force Base in California to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, where the museum is located in Ohio, okay? Around Dayton. So, but problems at a refueling stop en route resulted in Good becoming separated from his lead. And after following, so he's just in this plane that has no instrumentation, that has no lights or anything.
Wow.
And so he followed highways as far as St. Louis. He just would follow highways to figure out where he was. And then he ended up in the dark atop an undercast. He had already discovered that airplane had no cockpit or instrument lights since it was never intended to fly at night, nor had Good intended to fly at night, so he hadn't bothered to pack a flashlight. All he had was a Zippo lighter that he occasionally would flick on to check the instruments in the dark in a plane. Can you imagine?
Ew,
It'd be
creepy.
the scariest thing in the
That
world.
would be so creepy.
He guessed at a heading from St. Louis towards Dayton, and eventually, Right Pat radar picked him up and vectored him down through the clouds and onto final. I'm not sure how they got to him, but I guess he had a radio. But
yeah.
anyway, gear down, landing lights on. Oh wait, no landing lights either. Good set down with one hand on the stick and another on his Zippo so he could monitor the approaching speed. And that's how he landed. The
Oh,
thing
my goodness.
Yeah, is that crazy?
That's a harrowing flight.
That's a harrowing flight. Luckily, he was by himself.
Luckily.
Anyway, and then we have, this is going to be a great episode. We have, I don't know if you know about a UFO encounter that happened
Oh.
in November of 1957.
Tell me.
Coincidence that it's the same month that
Don't give it away.
Coincidence it's the same month that your thing happens?
That's
I don't
right.
know. UFO, who knows? We'll see. This is the story of the 1957 Levelland UFO encounter. Are you familiar with that? Levelland, Texas?
No.
Okay. I found most of this on howstuffworks.com. They have a whole
I
space
love
alien
that.
thing.
I love them.
And so on November 2nd, 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 2 into orbit.
That's right.
And within hours, coincidentally or otherwise, a UFO wave erupted in the U.S.
Oh.
Is this a coincidence? I don't think so. This is the first thing to orbit. The first thing we've ever sent to orbit. And then all of a sudden UFO activity comes. So it's like these UFOs were just there, then they see something
Unless they were,
orbiting.
that Sputnik is what they saw and they thought it was a UFO.
Well, listen to what happened. At first, the wave appeared to be concentrated in a small backwater area of West Texas.
That's usually where those things start.
Yeah, where a series of remarkable UFO encounters took place. The sheriff's office in the town of Levelland scoffed that evening when a frightened man called to report that he and a friend, no saying what kind of friend, maybe a sexual partner, we don't know,
Right.
driving on a country highway 4 miles west of town, had seen a 200-foot-long rocket rise up from a field and rush toward their truck. Terrified of an imminent collision, the two people flew out of the cab and hurried themselves into the ditch. So they jumped out of their cars.
Oh, my God.
Out of the car.
So it was real enough for them.
As the UFO passed just above the truck, rocking it with a blast as loud as thunder, the vehicle's engine died and its lights went out, only to resume a few seconds later when the mysterious object disappeared from view.
It said it sounded like a rocket?
It looked like a rocket.
Because they're usually supposed to be completely silent, which is one of the things that like there's different things that like
They said
the
this had a
government
blast. This had a blast.
See,
It was loud
that's-
of thunder.
yeah,
and
that's not
and it
normal.
shot right
That's
over
not
their
usually what
their
they
truck.
say.
Yeah, a lot of times. An hour later, another caller recounted his experience with an identical UFO that had also interfered with the electric functioning of his car. The scoffing stopped, and sheriff's officers soon found themselves handling comparable stories from frightened observers who had seen a giant light and engine-killing UFO at locations west, east, and north of Levelland. So everybody's cars were doing the same thing. It would shut off their power. At 1:30 a.m., Sheriff Weir Clem and a deputy saw the UFO themselves. A few minutes later, Ray Jones, Levelland's fire marshal, experienced motor difficulty when the same or similar phenomenon was in view. The official Air Force explanation was ball lightning.
Yes, that's what they say. Or weather balloon. Those are the two.
Yeah, the problem with ball lightning is that ball lightning never exceeds more than a few feet in diameter and is usually only inches around.
Yeah.
It isn't that big. Project Blue Book claimed an electrical storm was in progress during the sightings, but there was no storm. By 1957, Project Blue Book's investigations, quote unquote, were perfunctory at best. Even its chief scientific advisor, astronomer J. Allen Hynek, would later remark on the absence of evidence that ball lightning can stop cars and put out headlights.
Yeah.
So they don't know. That's it. That's all that happened. They don't know what happened.
That is crazy.
But I did meet a cryptozoologist this week from the Charlotte Paranormal Society, so I'll ask her if she has any opinions.
Yeah, you should.
I can't wait to get into this Charlotte Paranormal Society stuff. If you listen to this episode, and you're in Charlotte,
Yeah.
January 28th,
Mm-hmm.
come check out the Nerdy Night Out Shark Appreciation Show. That has nothing to do with aliens, but the Nerdy Night Out March show is going to be cryptids. We're going to talk about Sasquatch.
And tell them where.
At,
The Blumenthal.
well, it's going to be actually at the Carolina Esports Hub. Is going to be where it's located. And 2 drinks are included in the price. But you can get your tickets at blumenthalarts.org. Just look up Nerdy Night Out. We have awesome shows every month.
All right.
Tito's Vodka, sponsored by Tito's Vodka. Okay, and then on November 3rd, 1957, Laika.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of the
No.
Russian dog, Laika?
No.
The first living creature to be sent into space in Sputnik 2.
Mm-hmm.
You've never heard of this? That they sent a dog? Russians
Yes,
sent a
I
dog?
have heard that they
So
sent a dog. I just didn't know its name.
The name of the dog is Laika.
Okay.
Laika. I guess that's how you say it.
Yeah.
They sent a dog into space. It was the first living thing to be sent into space. Or I think they sent like
I thought they sent a chimp or
bugs
something.
and stuff like that first. No, I guess the dog was first. And
First,
sadly,
okay.
she did not make it back.
Oh.
And this was sad. I started doing more research, then I just stopped because I got sad. 3 days before the scheduled liftoff, Laika entered her constricted travel space that allowed for only a few inches of movement. Newly cleaned, armed with sensors, and fitted with a sanitation device, she wore a spacesuit with metal restraints built in.
God.
And on November 3rd at
Torture.
5:30 a.m., the ship lifted off with G-forces reaching 5 times
The
normal
poor thing was
gravity
probably
levels.
terrified.
It was terrified. And here's how we know. And you can find, if you look online, Laika, Sputnik 2, you can see pictures of the spaceship and this poor little dog in there, and it breaks your heart if you're an animal lover. So I would recommend not doing it. I hate even talking about this. But I wanted to know. I knew they would send a dog and probably a monkey, but I didn't know specifics.
Yeah.
And this is what made me so sad. The noises and pressures of flight terrified Laika. Her heartbeat rocketed to triple the normal rate, and her breath rate quadrupled. The National Air and Space Museum holds declassified printouts
She was all alone.
showing her respiration during the flight. She reached orbit alive, circling the Earth in about 103 minutes. Unfortunately, the loss of the heat shield made the temperature in the capsule rise unexpectedly, taking its toll on Laika. She died soon after launch. Russian medical doctor and space dog trainer Oleg Gazenko revealed in 1993 that, quote, the temperature inside the spacecraft after the 4th orbit registered over 90 degrees. Lewis says, there's really no expectation that she made it beyond an orbit or 2 after that.
Oh.
Without its passenger, Sputnik 2 continued to orbit for 5 months with this dead dog in there.
Oh.
This was the first living creature larger than a microbe to orbit the Earth, though not the first to reach space. She was a female. That's speaking of dogs. That's
Yeah,
my
really.
dog squeaking a squeaky toy. She was a female mongrel, originally named Kudryavka, which means little curly, but was later named Laika, which means barker. Her true pedigree is unknown, although it's generally accepted that she was part husky or other Nordic breed, and possibly part terrier. She was selected from 10 candidates at the Air Force Institute of Aviation Medicine because of her even temperament. She weighed about 13 pounds. The pressurized cabin on Sputnik 2 was padded and allowed enough room for Laika to lie down or stand. An air regeneration system provided oxygen. Food and water were dispensed in a gelatinized form. Laika was chained in place and fitted with a harness, a bag to collect waste, and electrodes to monitor vital signs. Can you imagine
Yes.
1950s
All by
technology
yourself.
collecting the waste of a dog? Like, that's not going to work.
No.
Early telemetry indicated Laika was agitated but alive and well, although the cabin temperature had already reached 109 degrees by the 3rd orbit.
Oh, my God.
And
Poor
then-
dog was cooked.
Yeah, biometric telemetry failed sometime after the 4th orbit. It's
All right. Can we move on?
it's very sad. Yeah, that's where I just got like depressed and sad about this poor pup. November 7th, 1957, we got our first birthday. That'll lighten the mood. Birthdays.
All right.
Amy, what do you think about birthdays?
Hate him.
Oh, let's see what Matt Truman says about that.
Amy hates birthdays. Amy hates birthdays.
All right, right, it's an American pro wrestler. Your favorite birthday is November 7th, 1957. Christopher Pallies was born, and I think you've seen him live. I think you saw him in St. Louis. He was born in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Christopher Allen Pallies was born in Woodbury, New Jersey, to Donald Pallies, a railroad freight agent, and Margaret Pallies, a department store clerk. And he attended Washington Township High School in Sewell, New Jersey, graduating in 1973. The team colors are red, white, and blue. They're the Minutemen. Notable alumni include Cheryl Reeve, head coach of the Minnesota Lynx, who was a two-time WNBA Coach of the Year.
Are you going to tell me who this is?
King Kong Bundy.
Oh, I never saw him live. I saw him on TV.
But you know who King Kong Bundy is.
Yeah, because he was at Wrestling at the Chase. And it was on Sunday mornings after Tarzan.
Oh, that's awesome. Well,
I don't know why. Well, that's a sign of the times, the 70s. There were 5 channels, and you watched what was fucking on, and everybody watched Tarzan with Ron E. Lee, and then they would watch Wrestling at the Chase.
And that's how you became...
And this is St. Louis, Missouri.
And so without that, if that technology wasn't that low, then you would not be a King Kong Bundy fanatic.
Or a Ron E. Lee fanatic. You forgot about that part.
Yeah, I did forget.
Oh, Ron E. Lee.
I'm not sure who that is.
It's Tarzan. TV's Tarzan.
I think it's pronounced Tarzan.
Did you ever watch that when you were a kid?
I never once did.
Really?
You think about it, you're a lot older than me.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
November 11th, 1957, Sun Records releases a single by Jerry Lee Lewis that sells 1 million copies in its first 10 days. What single is it?
Oh, Great Balls of Fire?
It is Great Balls of Fire. And one time...
No. What are you going to do?
I was just going to say, one time in middle school, we had a music class where they were talking about music history. And as for some reason, the bell rang right as we're in the middle of a lesson. They were talking about Jerry Lee Lewis. They were playing this song. And they stopped it. And then my buddy Jim Jaco, who lives in Florida right now and is certified white trash, he yelled out, "Goodness gracious, my balls are on fire!" He got in trouble as we were walking out. Isn't that great? I always think of that when I hear that song.
I guess you would.
November 13th, 1957, the 1980 satirical disaster comedy Airplane is largely based on this 1957 drama.
Airport.
0 Hour.
Oh.
And it follows the same.
Airport was a 70s.
I thought Airport was exactly a copy of, but no, it's an exact copy of 0 Hour, but funny. They just made it funny. It follows the same plot, uses the same character name for the hero passenger, and parodies the numerous scenes during the same dialogue, word for word.
Oh, funny.
And if you look this up on YouTube, 0 Hour and Airplane, if you look that up, there's a YouTube. Somebody's made a YouTube thing comparing all the scenes, and they're almost exactly the same things happening, except Airplane's funny.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
It's kind of funny. I didn't know that. 0 Hour. Check it out, everybody. November 14th, 1957 was the Appalachian Meeting, which was a historic summit of the American Mafia.
Oh.
Held at the home of mobster Joe the Barber Barbara. At 625 McCall Road in Appalachian, New York. On November 14th. Allegedly, the meeting was held to discuss various topics, including loan sharking, narcotics, trafficking, and gambling, along with dividing the illegal operations controlled by the recently murdered Albert Anastasia, who we talked about last episode. An estimated 100 mafiosi from the U.S., Italy, and Cuba are thought to have attended this meeting. Immediately after the Anastasia murder that October, and after taking control of the Luciano crime family, renamed the Genovese crime family from Frank Costello, Vito Genovese wanted to legitimize his new power by holding a national Cosa Nostra meeting. Local and state law enforcement became suspicious when numerous expensive cars bearing license plates from around the country arrived in what was described as the sleepy hamlet of Appalachian. After setting up roadblocks, the police raided the meeting, causing many of the participants to flee into the woods and surrounding areas of the Barbara estate.
Oh, so they did raid it.
Yeah. More than 60 underworld bosses were detained and indicted following the raid. 20 of those who attended the meeting were charged with conspiring to obstruct justice by lying about the nature of the underworld meeting and found guilty in January of 1959. All were fined up to $10,000 each and given prison sentences ranging from 3 to 5 years. I would imagine that would shake up the mafia world. Yeah. All the convictions were overturned on appeal the following year. One of the most direct and significant outcomes of the Appalachian meeting was that it helped to confirm the existence of nationwide criminal conspiracy, a fact that some, including FBI investigator director J. Edgar Hoover had long refused to acknowledge. So there you go. And on that same day, Dick Hutton beats Lou Thez in Toronto to become the NWA Wrestling Champion.
Oh.
And that, my friend, brings us to Amy's big story.
Yes. All right, so fasten your nipple belts, everybody.
This is a big deal. Amy has been waiting for this moment her entire life.
And all the trigger warnings, please.
I've been waiting for this moment for you.
So
the trigger warnings. What did you say?
All the trigger warnings.
What does that mean?
I mean, we're going to talk about some dark shit.
Oh, so we should give a warning to our listeners?
I was just saying, yes, if you're triggered by violent, dark content.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is so if you don't like gory murder,
why would you be listening to
horror
this?
stories, you probably wouldn't be listening to American Timelines. But before we get into this, let me take the squeaky toy away from my dog.
It's probably a good idea.
You can have the squeaky after the podcast.
Like she knows what you're saying.
Squeakies are not good for podcasting. Listeners don't want to hear. I mean, there's probably some listeners that like to hear the squeaky.
But probably not a lot.
Most probably don't. Most are probably like sending us glitter bombs in the mail.
All right. So when one thinks of horror movies, you might think of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Psycho, or Silence of the Lambs. What if I told you that all of those movies were loosely based on one man?
See, you've said that to me before, and I did not know this until I met you.
The man, Ed Gein.
Ed Gein,
Eddie
not
Gein.
Gein, not Gein.
Not Gein.
I always thought it was Gein.
The place, Plainfield, Wisconsin.
Oh, it's a Wisconsin guy.
Yes. Huh? The time, November 1957.
You know, I've never met somebody from Wisconsin that wasn't a lunatic.
Well, we had, we also had Jeffrey Dahmer from Wisconsin. So
oh, yeah, Wisconsin lunatics. Just kidding, Wisconsinites that are listeners. We're just kidding with you.
All right,
I just hate the Packers.
Let's go back a little bit. Edward Theodore Gein was born on August 27th, 1906 in La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Oh, the same day that on Different Strokes.
No.
Just kidding.
He grew up under his domineering mother Augusta's disapproving gaze.
Wow.
Augusta raised Ed and his older brother Henry to believe the world was full of evil and that women were quote-unquote vessels of sin.
Wow.
And that drinking and immorality were instruments from the devil.
Really? So
she was kind of like, have you ever seen the movie Carrie?
Yeah.
The mom.
The mom and that.
She's kind of like that.
Well, so was Carrie loosely based on this too?
Probably. The family soon moved from La Crosse, which Augusta thought was full of sin, to Plainfield.
Okay.
She settled the family on the outskirts of town to avoid the temptations of the city. Because of this, Ed only left his farm to go to school. He didn't have any friends, and classmates remembered him as odd and as having occasional bits of bizarre laughter.
Oh, that's weird.
So he's probably autistic.
That's creepy as hell, too, right?
Yeah.
Weird laughter.
Like out of nowhere. Just his laughter was kind of like, ha, 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 ha. Like that kind of.
How do you know?
Because I've researched it.
Oh, you are a researcher. Boy, yeah, that's creepy as hell. But yeah, nowadays we would diagnose him with so many different things.
Yeah. In addition, Eddie had a lazy eye and a speech impediment, which made him a target for bullies. Mm-hmm. Eddie was also punished if Augusta found out that he was making friends.
She didn't want him to make friends? She didn't allow him to?
Mother was the only friend he was allowed.
Oh, gross.
Augusta made sure both boys had as little socialization as possible to prevent any sinful influences.
What a lunatic that lady was.
Despite all of this, Ed adored his mother. His father, who was a timid alcoholic who died when Ed was 40, was a much smaller influence on Eddie's life. Growing up...
A timid alcoholic?
Yeah. Growing up, the marriage was very contentious.
Yeah.
George had trouble finding work, and when he did work, he would drink his paycheck away. As Ed...
That's the dad.
That's George, the dad, yeah. And then as Ed grew, he seemed to absorb his mother's harsh teachings about the world.
Yeah.
Sometimes Henry would stand up to Augusta, but Eddie never did.
Right.
Augusta constantly preached biblical tales of murder and sin to her boys.
Yikes, what a creepy existence.
So they never really developed socially, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Ed and his brother...
How could you?
They never moved away from home, and their lives kind of kept on as they were, chores and Old Testament horror stories into their adulthood. His dad was always drunk, and Augusta was there to make sure the whores from town never tried anything.
Yeah, that sounds like us, kind of.
I know. In April of 1940, when Ed was 34, still living at home under his mother's thumb, his dad died. and he was 66 of heart failure.
The dad was.
Yeah. So he was 34, not 40. Sorry, that earlier.
Yeah, that's
number
okay.
Was right.
You
so
lied.
Henry
You just are a liar.
So the dad's dead. Then Henry and Ed start seeking out odd jobs in town to help support the family.
Yeah,
so they had to. They had to. So they were seen around town as reliable farm boys. So they got decent work doing handyman jobs.
Yeah.
But then Eddie also got work as a babysitter. He's 34.
Oh, no. God, who would hire?
But he seemed to relate more to children than adults. Like he was kind of childlike.
Stunted development.
Yes, like his affect was kind of childlike. Then his brother, Henry, somehow met a woman. Somehow. She was a single mother of 2, and then they did a little bit of dating. Henry planned to move in with her. He didn't want to leave his brother alone in the house with Augusta. He was kind of alarmed.
Who would
about
hire
that.
this grown man to watch your kid?
Because anytime Henry would criticize Augusta, Ed would get really upset with him.
Yeah.
And Henry kind of realized how unhealthy the relationship was. Now, there is speculation that Eddie's first victim was his brother Henry. Because in 1944, the brothers set off to clear some vegetation on the farm by burning it. As they worked, the fire suddenly got out of control. And then when the firefighters arrived to put out the fire, Henry was nowhere to be found. And Eddie just said, I don't know, he disappeared.
Huh, so he never was seen again?
Well, his body was soon found face down in the marsh, and he had died from asphyxiation. Oh. The body, though, was unburnt. Huh. Author Harold Schechter, who wrote a book about Ed Gein, claims that there was bruising present on and around Henry's head and neck. And so rumors swirled, but no one could place a motive at the time. People thought Eddie did something to his brother. But now we know about Henry's worries about Ed and Augusta's relationship. Maybe that could be a motive. I don't know.
Because their contentious relationship, like he's protecting his mother?
Henry was trying to get Eddie out from under Augusta.
Okay.
So at the time, it seemed like a tragic accident, and no police work was done. But this now meant that Eddie and Augusta were by themselves. Yeah. Augusta then has a stroke. Oh. And it temporarily paralyzes her. And so Ed waits on her hand and foot while she recovers. Then she starts to get better. And then in 1945, Ed and Augusta went to buy straw from a man named Smith in town.
Okay.
Right? So as they're there, a dog wanders onto the property, and this guy Smith begins beating the dog. This woman comes out of the house and tries to stop him, but the man beat the dog to death.
Oh, no.
And later, during, like, when he was in the mental institution and they interviewed Eddie about his life and stuff, he would recall that his mom was much more upset to learn that woman who came out of the house wasn't the man's wife than she was about the fact that he beat that dog to death. Ugh. And that was just how pathological she was.
Yeah.
So then she had a second stroke and died on December 29th, 1945.
Okay.
That left Ed devastated, and he was completely alone.
Yeah.
His biography described him as losing his only friend and one true love. How gross is that?
Ugh. So you think they were doing it?
No, I don't know. Ugh. What the fuck do I know? All right. After Augusta died, Eddie transformed the farmhouse into a shrine to her. He boarded up rooms that she'd used, keeping them in pristine condition, and then he moved himself into this little tiny bedroom off the kitchen, and he only lived in like the kitchen bedroom. And he like hoarded the rest of the house that wasn't shrined off.
Yeah.
And he was living alone. He was far from town. He's sinking deeper and deeper into these obsessions. He would obsess about Nazi medical experiments, studying human anatomy, reading about cannibals, consuming porn, though he never attempted to date any real-life women, and reading horror novels. So that's another sign of autism is
what? Reading horror novels?
Is obsessions with things.
Oh, obsessions with stuff?
Yeah. He had these obsessions that he got, like hyper-focusing on your obsessions. So slowly, he began to indulge in his sick fantasies, but no one would notice for years. Then Ed befriended a 16-year-old boy, they would go to ball games together.
Weird.
Then the boy came home and told his mom that Ed had shrunken heads in his kitchen. But Ed explained those away as relics from the Philippines brought back from World War II. They weren't. For a decade, no one outside of town thought much about the Gein farm. Then, on November 16th, 1957, local hardware store owner Bernice Warden vanished, leaving behind bloodstains in the hardware store. The truck was missing, and her son was the sheriff, so he came to investigate.
Yeah.
Warden was a 58-year-old widow. She was last seen at the store working, and her last customer?
Ed Gein.
Yes. He had gone in to buy antifreeze.
Okay.
So then they track him down. He's at another store. They arrest him.
Okay.
And they take him in. Then they decide they get a search warrant. They're going to go out to his house and search to find Bernice because she's missing.
Yeah, maybe she's there tied up or something.
So they go out to the farmhouse, but they were never prepared for what they would find there.
What did they find?
Here we go. All right. Art.
Because so far this is kind of tame. Like I thought this was one of the
We're getting there.
most prolific serial killers, and so far he's only killed his brother. That's it. So
Art Schley.
I'm declaring this lame.
Shut up. Art Schley, who was a police officer who was on the scene, later recalled that he was so traumatized by what he saw that he later attacked Gein, slamming his head into a wall.
Whoa! Just by what he
saw.
Oh boy!
He ended up dying of heart failure before the trial even happened.
The
cop did.
Oh
yeah.
Man!
So they get on the property and they go to the shed first, and they find Bernice Warden's body.
Okay.
She was dead, decapitated, and hung by her ankles from the rafters,
Ugh.
nude.
Oh.
She was dressed out like a deer.
Oh,
so
gross.
picture, you know how they hang deers
clean
from
deer
the
like
ankles?
that?
That's how it was.
We had a weird neighbor that would do that all the time.
She had been shot and killed, and all the mutilation happened after she was dead. So she had her insides were all gutted out and everything.
Ugh.
So then they get into the house, and they find countless bones, both whole and fragmented, skulls impaled on his bedposts, bowls and kitchen utensils made from skulls. But worse than all the bones everywhere was the household items that Ed had made from human skin. Authorities found chairs upholstered in human skin.
What?
A wastebasket made of skin. Leggings made from human leg skin. Masks made from faces. A belt made of nipples.
A belt made of nipples? A nipple belt?
That's what I said at the beginning, remember?
You said a nipple
I
belt?
said fasten your nipple belt.
Oh, that's why you said that.
Yep.
Now I want a nipple belt.
A pair of lips were being used as a window shade drawstring. A corset was made out of a female torso. And a lampshade was made from a human face.
Gross, but practical.
Also masks made from skin of women that Gein wore. Like he would skin the face off and wear it.
Creepy as fuck.
Along with the skin items, police found various dismembered body parts, including fingernails, 4 noses, and the genitals of 9 different women.
Oh my God. Are these like, you can see pictures of all this stuff?
Pretty much.
Online?
Yeah.
Ugh.
They also found the remains of Mary Hogan, a tavern keeper who'd gone missing in 1954.
Poor Mary Hogan.
Ed Gein readily admitted that he'd collected most of the remains from 3 local graveyards, which he'd started to visit 2 years after Augusta's death.
Okay, so most people are already dead.
That's right. He told police he'd gone to the graveyards in a daze looking for bodies that he thought resembled his mother. He also explained why. He told authorities that he had wanted to create a woman's suit so that he could become his mother and crawl into her skin. Materials to make this suit were crafted from some 40-odd trips to the graveyard. He was accused of having sex with the corpses, but he denied this, saying the body smelled too bad.
But he wanted to.
I guess, yeah.
Hey, don't get me wrong.
Right.
I wanted to bang the hell out of these dead bodies, but it just stunk too bad.
So following the police visit to Ed Gein's house, the, quote, butcher of Plainfield was arrested. He was found
That's what they called him, the butcher of Plainfield?
Yep. He was found not guilty by reason of insanity in 1957 and sent to the Central State Hospital for the Criminally Insane, where he was diagnosed with schizophrenia.
Oh, okay. You'd have to be insane to do that.
Then his farmhouse mysteriously burned to the ground. 10 years later, Ed was deemed fit to stand trial and was convicted of the murder of Bernice Warden.
Really?
But just of Bernice Warden. He was never tried for Mary Hogan's murder because the state allegedly saw it as a waste of money. He was insane, they reasoned, and he would spend the rest of his life in hospitals either way.
Yeah.
But that raises a chilling question. How many people did Ed Gein kill? Until his death in 1984 at the age of 77, he only ever admitted to murdering Warden and Hogan. The other bodies, and police found as many as 40, as I said, he claimed he's robbed from graves.
Well, he never admitted to killing his brother either?
Mm-mm. So we may never know how many people fell victim to the butcher of Plainfield. But it is certain that he stands as one of the most disturbing serial killers
of
all time.
Gross. So, so most disturbing, but not the highest amount of
Not the highest kill.
unless he did kill some of those people. But sounds like he.
He's just a grave
from
rob,
the
like a.
grave, yeah.
Well, they called him a ghoul.
Yeah.
He was a ghoul.
Is that what a ghoul is? Somebody robs body parts? Out of
Yeah,
grave?
I think.
Oh my god, I kind of want to barf,
I know.
but I also kind of want to look up the pictures.
Yeah.
But
They're
if
crazy.
you've seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that's sort of based on that because
Leatherface wore
Leatherface
the
wears a
face of human skin, and
person's-
they had in that movie bones and stuff hanging from the rafters, and they had a lampshade of a.
Now this guy
skin
didn't eat people like in Hannibal Lecter. You said ate people, right?
No, but in that Buffalo Bill was making a suit of a woman's skin in Silence of the
movie?
Lambs.
Oh,
yeah, it wasn't Hannibal Lecter wasn't who Ed Gein was based on. It was Buffalo Bill.
Gotcha. It was another.
And then in
watching it.
Psycho, he was obsessed with his mother. And
Yeah, so Psycho's based on him too.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that is as gross as promised, and I take back my earlier
lame saying it was
comment
lame.
because I mean I am surprised he didn't kill more people. Like, who's that one guy we covered, the fat guy who goes crazy at the dog barking?
Son of Sam.
Son of Sam. Like that. He killed way more people, right? And then even Jeffrey Dahmer.
He didn't have a
killed
very
way-
big kill count, Son of Sam.
Dahmer did,
It was
right?
like-
Dahmer's got the highest.
No. Israel Keys or somebody will have the highest one of Americans.
You just say it's crazy how you just like off the top of your head know all this gross, weird stuff.
I know, it's terrible.
But I still love you. So let's cleanse our palate with the rest of November, and then we'll take a quick break.
All right.
And then I'll finish December with some fun stuff, hopefully. November 22nd, 1957, after Ed Gein had killed his last victim, Simon and Garfunkel appear on American Bandstand as their other band name before they were Simon and Garfunkel. Do you know what it is?
Oh.
You know who they were originally?
No.
Tom and Jerry.
Really?
Yeah, that's what they were billed as at the beginning.
I love Simon and Garfunkel's
They were
music.
Tom and Jerry, and you can see this on YouTube, I think. You can see
Yeah.
them appearing as Tom and Jerry, which I didn't know that. November 25th, 1957, U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower suffers a mild stroke, which impaired his speech. And then on November 27th, the U.S. Army withdraws from Little Rock, Arkansas, which we talked about before after the Central High School integration. They finally are withdrawing after, a whole other episode of American Timelines later.
Yeah.
And so that brings us to something I just want to bring up. So I'm just going to take a quick second here to tell our listeners about something called Magic Mind. See, I told you I would sing it, so I had to sing it. I have to tell you, there's a new formula of Magic Mind. They've improved it. And you know what? You might call me a hippie or call them a hippie, but they've decided to make a vegan formula. They've swapped the honey with agave. And they now use a new nanotechnology to blend their ingredients so there's no more sediments in the drink. And the effects take place a lot faster now. And I'll tell you, I've noticed it, and the taste is better, I think. But I've also noticed more productivity for me when I take it. I'm taking it consistently. I take it every day after my first cup of coffee, so it kind of mixes with my caffeine, whatever it is, and then I don't even really need any more coffee, and then I really feel like I focus a lot more. I'm telling you, I feel like I'm more creative, and I get in that creative flow. Those of you who are creative people, if you're a writer, if you're a comedy writer, if you're a comedian, whatever you are, an actor, singer, probably write songs, I'm telling you, this will help you kind of get in that creative flow. I get in this creative flow when I take it. I love it. And they've increased Magic Mind is so great to American Timelines because they have increased the subscription discount you get for listening to American Timelines to 56% off. That's crazy. You'd be crazy not to do this. So if you go to www.magicmind.co/American, you can get up to 56% off your subscription for the next 10 days with my code. You got to use my code, American20. So magicmind.co/American, American20, and get a subscription to Magic Mind. And it takes 1 second to drink the thing, and you feel healthier, and you feel smarter, and you feel better, and you drink less coffee, and you're less jittery. So try Magic Mind today. I just sang it. They told me not to sing, but I sang anyway. So anyway, and
Hello.
now it's time to continue on our timeline and finish 1957. Are you ready to finish 1957, Aim?
Yes.
All right, you gorgeous woman, strap in because we've got some things. We don't have a lot, but we do have some. Possibly the greatest human who's going to be born in December. We're going to get to that birthday. One more birthday. As I take a sip of my delicious Hop Slam ale.
I'm trying to not to chew.
Yeah, don't chew into the microphone.
No.
You'll be good. Okay, December of 1957. According to the New York Times, the Federal Bureau of Investigation has nearly 1,500 informants at this time in the 8,500-member Communist Party, according to a former agent who also made a public report criticizing the autocratic way the Bureau was run.
Oh.
So there's 8,500 members approximately of the Communist Party at this time. 1,500 are informants. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And on December 1st, 1957, seminal rock band Buddy Holly and the Crickets make their Ed Sullivan Show debut, performing That'll Be the Day and Peggy Sue.
Peggy Sue. Also, I was going to guess.
I should have had you guess. But how about you guess this? What other singer was on that same episode of Ed Sullivan? Groundbreaking, December 1st, 1957. This has to be the greatest
single
episode
singer?
ever. Yeah, single singer.
Male or female?
Male. Sam. His name is Sam.
Sam?
Buddy Holly and the Crickets and Sam Cooke are on the same episode. He also performed because he got bumped due to time constraints in November. And he sang, "You Send Me and I Love You" for sentimental reasons. On December 2nd, 1957, the Pacific Coast League franchises. Pacific Coast League is I guess like a minor league baseball league. Mm-hmm. And their franchises, I never thought about this when somebody relocates. They were forced to relocate their teams when the Dodgers and Giants confirmed their move to California for the 1958 MLB season. So the Hollywood Stars had to move from L.A. to Salt Lake City, and the L.A. Angels had to move to Spokane, and the San Francisco Seals had to transfer to Phoenix. So I didn't know that all other baseball teams had to leave. It's like a rule.
Oh.
Have you ever heard of the San Francisco Seals?
No.
Well, you can get a T-shirt with the San Francisco Seals, and they're a defunct team, and I would love a T-shirt from them. Keep that in mind.
Hinting?
I'm hinting. You can find it on Threadless.
I'll never remember that.
You'll never remember, but just look up defunct teams. I'll take any one. I love defunct teams. I don't know why. December 7th, 1957, journalist Drew Pearson claimed that John F. Kennedy's Pulitzer Prize-winning book, Profiles in Courage, had been ghostwritten by his speechwriter, Ted Sorensen.
Oh, it probably was.
JFK's father was pissed about that allegation and sued, and ABC retracted the statement and apologized. But then in 2008, Sorensen admitted that he did write most of the book.
Yeah.
Yep, you're not surprised.
Well, I mean, you don't have to be an author to be a president. So
Boom.
It's not that big of a deal if you're not a brilliant writer. You know what I mean? Like,
Not everybody can do it.
right.
I'm going to try to write a book soon.
You are?
Maybe.
About what?
I don't know, everything. December 12th, 1957, William J. Kolff and his team at Ohio's Cleveland Clinic removed the heart from a dog and replaced it with a pneumatic pump, which kept the dog alive for 90 minutes.
So we're getting on the way to a heart transplant.
Proving the viability of the artificial heart. Yep.
Okay.
That was the first one back in 1957. And we got our December birthday.
All right.
Hit it, Matt Truman, Ego Trip, greatest band of all time.
Amy hates birthdays. Amy hates birthdays.
God, I hope Matt Truman, Ego Trip gets back together. They broke up. They had played their last concert last month.
Yeah.
Oh, my
sad.
God. I love them. They're the greatest band of all time. Check out History for Jerks Instagram page. I recorded a little bit of live snippet of them playing. They're the best. And they I didn't tell you this about Matt Truman Ego Trip. Chrissy is the name of the song that we play at the beginning of our episodes.
Yeah.
The American Timelines kind of theme song. They have a fast version of it that they played.
Oh,
They
cool.
made a faster version of it and more like rocky or cool. It's pretty cool. And it was very, very awesome. I love those guys. Anyway, we have a birthday, and born on December 13, 1957. This actor was born in the borough of Brooklyn, and former firefighter in the borough of Brooklyn in New York City, to Dorothy and
Steve
John.
Buscemi.
Yeah, John Buscemi. I didn't know you knew that about him.
Oh, I was trying. I'm sitting here thinking. I know there's an actor that was a firefighter.
Yeah, his father was a sanitation worker and served in the Korean War, and his mother was a hostess at Howard Johnson's.
Hojo's.
Did you know that Steve Buscemi has three brothers, John, Ken, and Michael?
No.
Michael's also an actor.
Oh.
I didn't know that. When Buscemi was 10 years old, the family moved from East New York to Valley Stream in Nassau County.
God, his scene in Wedding Singer is one of my favorite comedy scenes when he's the brother and he's giving that toast. Oh, my God.
I'll have to watch that again.
And he's like going off.
The drug out of his mind. Steve Buscemi's the best.
Oh, he's so good.
And he's great in Fargo. He's
yes.
He's great in
Great in everything
Big
he does.
Lebowski.
Yes.
And then what is it? Billy Madison, where he puts on the lipstick. He's like this crazy guy. I'm glad I called that guy. Buscemi graduated in 1975 from Valley Stream Central High School. Colors are blue and white, and their mascot is the eagle. And notable alumni include Fred Armisen and Jim Brewer. So those are both comedians that were on SNL. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
In high school, Steve Buscemi wrestled for the varsity squad and participated in the drama troupe. Yeah. He briefly attended Nassau Community College before moving to Manhattan to enroll in the Lee Strasberg Institute. Steve Buscemi is now part of the American Timeline's lore. December 13th, 1957, Peyton Place, the film based on the novel by Grace Metalius, directed by Mark Robson and starring Lana Turner and Hope Lang, is released. Are you familiar with Peyton Place?
I've never seen it.
It's a 1957 American drama film starring Lana Turner, Hope Lang, Lee Phillips, Lloyd Nolan, Diane Varsi, Arthur Kennedy, and more, directed by Mark Robson.
I think it's like a soap opera-y kind of deal.
It follows the residents of a small fictional New England
It's like
mill
Knots
town
Landing or something.
in the years surrounding World War II, where scandal, homicide, suicide, incest, and moral hypocrisy belie its tranquil facade. It is based on Grace Metalius' best-selling 1956 novel. It was a major box office success, though its omission of the novel's sexually explicit material was widely criticized.
Oh.
The film was nominated for nine Academy Awards, including Best Picture. It won none, tying the record set by The Little Foxes for most nominations with no wins.
Boom.
I had a lady who worked for me when I worked in the group homes, and she would often get real nasty, and she'd always say, "I'm done with this Peyton Place bullshit."
Yeah.
And I always was like,
I've heard that before, too.
"What?
Like, what is this,
What is she
Peyton
talking-"
Place?
I had to like look it up. Like, what is she talking about? Like, what's Peyton? That's the only reference I had for Peyton Place at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, whatever. December 20th, 1957, Elvis Presley receives his draft notice to join the U.S. Army for national service.
Oh, man.
The already well-established rocker was spending the holidays at his newly purchased Graceland estate in Memphis, Tennessee, when he received his draft notice for the U.S. Army. With a hit movie, a string of gold records, and the title of national icon, the then 23-year-old was about to add private to his resume.
God, he was so good looking at that age, too.
Oh, why don't you bang him? According to AmericanSongwriter.com, Presley wrote a letter to the draft board asking if he could defer his 2-year service until he wrapped up filming the movie King Creole. According to History.com, the Memphis Draft Board granted him a deferment until the following March. He was sworn in as an Army private on March 24th, 1958. He served most of his 2 years in the military in Friedberg, Germany, where he met 14-year-old Priscilla Berrieux, whom he would marry after a 7-year courtship. That's fucking weird.
Yeah.
With his obligations to the military coming to an end, by the early 60s, he began to weigh in on his next move. In his final days of active duty, he pondered over whether he would rejoin the ranks as the hip-swiveling rock and roll star he left behind, or instead further the budding acting career he put on hold, and he ended up doing both.
Yep.
And then he became a big, fat, embarrassing
drug
slob
addict.
who died
Yeah.
in the toilet.
Yep.
But I guess we all get.
We all
turn into
impacted colons.
Yeah. we all get impacted colons and die on the toilet.
Yeah, that's right.
And turn into we just get bloated. Like I can't stop the bloating.
I prefer swollen.
I have a swollen torso and there's nothing I can do about it. I work out for hours
You do not.
and I have a perfect diet, and yet I still have a huge gross torso.
Well, honey, it's all right.
Well, as long as it's all right to you.
It's yeah.
As long as you don't make me put a bag over my head when we hook up. December 25th, Christmas Day, 1957, according to the Royal Collection Trust. In 1957, Queen Elizabeth made her first live televised Christmas broadcast from Sandringham House. It was a historic event, not least because this was the first time that the public could see and hear the Queen, thanks to what she described as the new medium of television.
Oh.
So she used to do just radio broadcasts.
So some people had never heard her before or seen her before.
Probably, I mean, they've seen pictures.
Pictures and
they
her,
hadn't seen
but
her
they'd never seen
while
her
she
talking.
Spoke. Yeah. Additionally, it took place on the 25th anniversary of the first Christmas broadcast made by her grandfather, King George V. Despite the technological advances and change the television introduced, the Queen stressed the importance of maintaining the fundamental principles of religion, morality, and honesty.
Mm-hmm.
During this
and colonizing.
And during this season of 1957, freak radio conditions caused by sunspots resulted in American police radio transmissions often interfering with British television broadcasts. So one occasion that this happened was during the Queen's speech.
Oh, no.
Causing all the listeners listen to the Queen's speech on Christmas to hear an American police officer say, "Joe, I'm going to grab a quick coffee," according to the Saskatoon Star-Phoenix. Isn't that hilarious that happened?
Yeah, that's
They're
funny.
probably stupid, shitty Americans.
Yep.
And
They're lucky that's all they said.
on that same day, on Christmas Day, is when Ed Gein was found not guilty by reason of insanity for
That's right.
a series of murders. That was that same day. And so that is going to wrap up. We haven't done toys in a while. We didn't do that.
Oh,
this
that's
year.
true.
I forgot to look that up. But maybe we should have just a special episode or something where we do that. But that
We
wraps
could do
up
toys
1957.
we could do toys through the ages.
We could do special. We have 2 episodes from now is our 200th episode. We got to figure out. We got to do something special for real.
Well,
besides just get all fucked up on drugs.
Well, we've got to get. I mean,
I'm
we could
not
do
gonna
we
do
could
any
do
drugs. I'm just
thematic episodes and look at things through the ages, toys, movies,
For our 200th episode, just do a special episode where we just
crimes,
look at everything from the 57
necrophiles
necrophiles
through the ages.
Through the ages. But anyway, thank you, listeners, and please interact with us on Instagram at History for Jerks and Twitter. I think those are the only ones we're on. I think we're on Facebook, but
Nobody ever.
I have to log out of my regular. It's hard to do, but I'll interact with you on Facebook if you want. We've had a few people interact with us. Email us at joe@historyforjerks.com. You have one too, but I don't think
I don't ever.
you
I've
know
never
how to
checked
access
it.
it.
Yeah.
So don't email Amy at historyforjerks.com.
Don't do it.
She doesn't know how to do it.
It'll be lost.
Amy barely knows how to turn on a computer.
That's not true.
She doesn't even know what the internet. She thinks the internet is just
A
Candy
series
Crush.
of tubes.
It's just is Candy Crush? Is that what the internet is? Anyway, thanks for listening. We love you, and you're attractive. You
Time
are the
to
most
get out of here, Chuck
attractive
Berry.
listeners, and it's time to get out here, Chuck Berry.
Bye bye.
Sexy listeners, sexy.
If that's with a challenge, baby, I'll blow it. I can sing you a song, but you already know it. And you know it's okay if you think it's a shame, because a record company buys my cocaine. The ladies of the 80s, they've been treating me fine, and so I don't really care if I'm a few years behind. I stood in the studio without an idea. I'm living on royalty checks from Korea, and the record company buys my cocaine. 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 Down. It's not at a shoot, at a smoke, at a lick, at a blow, drop backstage, babe, I'll buy you a ticket. You can rock it and roll and a twist and shout. When I just hope you'll make $1 million for my teeth fall out. Yeah, the record company buys my cocaine. The record company buys my cocaine. The record company buys my cocaine. The record company buys my cocaine.
Matt Truman Ego Trip is the greatest band of all time. Buy their music.